Hey friends, this is Michael Rasika. So, every time I've taken a cross-country bicycle ride, I subject myself to a million questions. Everyone's got 1,000 questions every time I start talking about bicycle touring. So I've created this blog post here, this blog post video post where I read it to you, where I answer a lot of these questions. And so let's dive in. Millions of bike touring questions. I can't open my mouth and say anything about bike touring without triggering a million questions from everyone. I can visualize several of my family members making lists, getting on a line, and start asking me questions. So even though many of the details of this trip are unknown, I will do my best at answering a few of the questions that I know you probably have for me. Wait. Before I answer any questions, I want to state that my biggest lesson I've consistently learned about bike touring is not to focus energy on making too many hard plans, but focus the energy on setting myself up for success. My philosophy is to leave space to allow for amazing things to happen. Making too many plans negates amazing things from happening on a bike tour. My inability to get serious about making hard plans tends to drive the question-asking people nuts. I'm just saying. Now let's get started answering some questions you may have. What about your apartment and your dog, Molly Rasika? I don't know yet. I've lived in the same building for 6 years now. It's felt like home to me more than any other place I've ever lived. I love living here and want to keep living here after the trip is over. I'm going to find someone to stay with her while I'm gone. When the timing's right, I'm going to find one of my yoga friends who just broke up with her boyfriend and needs a dog to love and a place to live for the summer. For 8 years, Molly and I haven't been separated for more than 2 weeks at a time. So, taking this trip isn't going to be easy for either of us. I just know someone is itching to say, Mike Rasika, why don't you take Molly along on the trip with you? And that really isn't an option or realistic. She's a 75-pound yellow lab and is turning 8 years old in March. Taking her along would be too dangerous for both of us. She would be miserable anyways. I'm going to be riding bikes for 4 to 6 hours every single day, and she doesn't ride. She prefers to sleep for most of the day, and she thrives on a very consistent routine, none of which exists on a bike tour. What kind of bike are you riding on this trip? I don't know yet. I don't own a touring bike. I sold all my touring gear to a college kid a few years ago who is getting ready to bicycle across America. The long-haul trucker is a good bike, and so is the Trek 520. I also kind of want to check out the REI touring bike, but we'll see. I'm a bike snob, so I'm sure I'll find some good shit. I need to figure out and probably write several blog posts about it. What kind of bike are you riding these days? I have a Trek hybrid that has a basket on the front. It's super cheesy. I sold all the other fancy bicycles because I wasn't riding them. I'm not sentimental about bikes. I love buying, selling, and trading them. I used to get several new bikes a year. Do you go by Mike or Michael? Honestly, I use both. When I moved to the West Coast, I started using Michael. How do you say your last name? It's pronounced Rasika. Michael Rasika. Which route are you riding? I don't know. Most likely I'll ride a pieced-together version of the Trans Am again. I'm not too worried about it, and will mostly figure out the route at the last minute. Are you going to ride your bike on the interstate? I get asked this question all the time. Nope. I always ride on some of the best roads in America. Roads that are incredibly beautiful and scenic. I always follow routes that take me through several towns a day. I always meet a ton of people, and each time I get to a new town. Riding a bike on the interstate isn't realistic or fun. However, I did ride about 10 miles on Route 80 in Wyoming during the 2005 ride. This happened because the Trans Am had no other option for getting me around the mountain. 10 miles on the interstate is okay, but I'm not taking this bike tour to hang out on interstates. In fact, I'm not even a fan of staying in towns that have an interstate running through them. Why don't you ride somewhere more exotic, like Europe or South America? Riding across America is lame, and you've already done this before. I don't know. Yeah, eventually I would like to go to Europe or South America. At the moment, I get much more excited thinking about cycling across America again. What direction will you ride? At the end of May, I will be in Philadelphia to attend the American Institute of Architects convention. After the party is over, my plan is to head down to Virginia and start cycling west back to Oregon. What? Everyone knows the weather travels from the west to the east. Why aren't you cycling from the west coast back to the east coast? That seems to make the most sense. No, I completely disagree. I've ridden more than 10,000 miles of self-supported bicycle tours and have learned that yes, maybe at 30,000 feet in the sky the weather moves in that direction, and this could affect an airplane traveling 500 miles an hour. But on the ground it's a complete different story to a bicycle traveling 10 miles an hour. Wind is whipping around in all different directions, and there is often little rhyme or reason to the direction the wind is blowing. One thing you can definitely count on is that if you start in the west, every morning you'll be cycling towards the sun. Not a big deal, but I wrote a whole blog post about this many years ago, which I need to dig up and find. Can I ride across the country with you, Michael Rasika? No. I honestly just want to take another trip by myself. I love Jamie and Chuck, and 2007 was an amazing ride. But riding solo versus riding with other people is a completely different experience. Interactions with locals are different. There are more moving parts to break. Decision making can be difficult. I have zero interest in ever getting into the business of escorting people across the country on a bicycle. When I go on a bike tour, I like to carry my own gear, sleep in weird places, go on long stretches of time with no showers, eat dinner at 7-Elevens, talk to tons of strangers, and regularly put myself in awkward and uncomfortable situations. Cycling across America sounds glamorous, and it really isn't at all. It's stupid. You really don't want to join me. Having said that, there will be a few key people joining me for this bike tour for short periods of time, or making guest appearances. None of those details have been worked out or discussed while being sober. What about money? Can you afford to take this time off? I don't know. Like I said in the other blog post, I'm not waiting any longer. I don't think I'm really taking any time off. I currently earn most of my money from my architecture blog, a book I wrote, a program I created around the architecture registration exam, and a variety of other ways. I have one contractor who I'm currently working with, but because I'm taking off for the entire summer, I'm not soliciting for any big architecture projects, which would interfere with this trip. All the work I'm doing on Young Architect will keep trucking along as it has, and I don't see it being affected by this bike tour. What's up with the ads on this website? If I'm going to do this trip, I need to monetize this bike touring site somehow. For now, I'm going to mess around with advertising and investigate other ways to monetize the site until I have my own product to sell. I do want to write a short book about how to take a bike tour, but right now I'm just working on getting this website up and running and getting this tour started. Mike, did you know your website needs a lot of work and the videos would be much better if you did X, Y, and Z? I know. I'm an architect, not a web designer or IT genius. The website will be a constant work of progress, and I will never stop fine-tuning it. My other website, Young Architect, definitely wasn't built in a day and is far from being perfect. I expect this website and videos to get better the more I work on it. It would be nice to have a fully polished site, but that would take me forever, and I think it's more important to get the website up and running and dial it in later. What is the official name of this trip? I don't know yet. I've been calling it the 2016 Bike Tour. The trip really isn't alive yet. This is the first few posts. The bike trip will start to come alive the more I post and talk about it, and ideally when I officially leave to start cycling, it may be called something else. Why aren't you using Crazy Guy on a Bike for this year's bike journal? Isn't that the gold standard for bicycle journals? Yes, you are correct, it is. I'm not using them because I know how to build my own websites and already have the entire infrastructure from my other website, youngarchitect.com. Each month I pay tons of money for hosting, tools, and services to help me with youngarchitect.com. It wouldn't make sense to not start using that stuff. Several months ago, I spoke to Neil and told him I'm going to build my own bike site and move my old journals onto the new site. He didn't like the idea and asked that if I post my journals somewhere else, then I should remove them from Crazy Guy. And I don't blame him. So I did, and then he deleted my account. No hard feelings, I still think Neil Gunton is a good guy. I love Crazy Guy on a Bike, and just discovering that site changed my life. But I really want my own website and domain. There are very few options with customizing Crazy Guy. It completely ignores social media, and it looks like it hasn't been refreshed since 1995. At this point in my life, I know too much about the internet to not build my own site, even if it's not perfect. Michael Rasika, don't you realize that all the success from your former bike touring journals was directly related to the fact that Crazy Guy on a Bike has a built-in community of bike touring enthusiasts reading bike journals all day long while they should be working? What makes you think you can get people to read this journal the same way they did on the old ones? Yes, I agree, you are correct. But I'm not convinced Crazy Guy on the Bike is the only place the bike touring community hangs out. It's a big one, but definitely not the only place. I hope to believe with all my heart that with social media, search engine optimization, and jumping through a variety of different hoops that I could get more traffic to the news site without Crazy Guy on a Bike. I did this with Young Architect and it's a ton of work, but I think I could do it and even faster than I did it with Young Architect. I also think the triple-tiered approach to release the blog in written, video, and audio formats will drastically help reach a larger audience. This bike tour will be all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I have one last comment about the bike touring community. From what I've learned from my previous bike journals, I'm not completely convinced that the bike touring community is a proper representation of who my true audience is. I've gotten emails from so many people reading my journals who do not fit in the demographic of middle-aged, male, crazy guy, bicycle enthusiasts. Lots of these people don't even ride bikes and know nothing about bike touring before stumbling across my blog. So I guess I'm basically saying, while I agree with that statement for my old journals, in 2016 I'm pretty confident that I can find my audience without the built-in Crazy Guy on a Bike community. How will you get all this work done? Especially when you're riding a bicycle every day. I don't know. I'll need to build a team. I'm constantly hiring people to help me with Young Architect on websites like Upwork.com. They help me with fixing the website, help me with graphics, proofreading my posts, doing repetitive tasks, and all types of things that I can think of. I can leverage some of those existing relationships to help me with this project. But I'll need to build a team, and I don't quite know how or what that looks like yet. If you're interested in being a part of my team, send me an email to mikerasika@gmail.com. What kind of tent, trailer, pannier, rain jacket, bike tire, shoes, chain lube, helmet, mirror, thermarest camera, cell phone, laptop, bike rack, kickstand, cycling jersey, sunscreen, tripod, sleeping bag, cell phone service, blah 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 will you use on this next bike tour? And the answer is, I don't know. What's up with the robot? And what's his name anyway? His name is Dude. Dude Robot. I love that robot, and this will be his third time across America. I wrote a whole other blog post about him that I haven't posted yet. Why is there an image in the sidebar of the website that says you're a part of the top 50 bike touring journals? Good question. About 6 months ago, when I was uploading the 2005, I found this list and I applied for the next time that they ran the test, and ironically, I made the list. I had no web traffic readers or search engine traffic, and I think I came in dead last, but I still made the list. So I'm proudly displaying my badge of honor. It's a great list. I encourage you to click that link and check out some of those other blogs on the list. Be careful. They're addictive. Where is the Team Northern Tier Journal? I want to read it. I haven't uploaded it onto this site yet. It's ready to go. The 2005 journal's there. I'm figuring out how to get it uploaded right now, and I'm in the process of finding someone to help me with that. I hope to have the complete Team Northern Tier Journal up here in a few weeks. It's coming, don't worry. Are you going to post weekly and write a weekly newsletter for the bike site? I don't know how often I'll be posting yet. I wasn't planning on writing a personalized newsletter. The email subscription for the bike site is set up so it sends an automated email each time I publish a new post. I may change this somewhere down the road. My priority up to now has been to get this trip and site launched and dial it in all later. How can I help you? What can I do to support? The best thing you can do is follow me on social media, like and share the social media posts, watch the videos, leave me comments or jokes, tell me how smart and handsome I am, subscribe to the email list, and tell all your friends that they should start following along too. That's all. What else? I can't think of any more questions. If you have any questions that I need to answer, please comment on this blog page below and I'll make another question video. Thanks for following along. Have a great day.